Hello, everybody. Welcome to the channel. My name is Lindsay, and this is Life with Lindsay. Today, we have a WIP Chat. If you do not know what a WIP Chat is, that is when I work on my current WIP, WIP, which is work in progress. You can pull out whatever it is that you are working on, whether it be another craft project, a household project while you're doing chores, while you're driving around, while you're at work, really whatever it is that you want to be doing. There is no right way or wrong way to WIP and Chat. If you're new, hi, welcome. My name is Lindsay. I do mainly diamond painting and other crafting related content. I would love for you to like, subscribe, hit the bell, hop aboard the Hot Mess Express. Let's all be friends. If you've been here before, hi, welcome. So I am working on the mystery diamond painting from Diamond Art Club. I have my little piece of release paper here. I will lift that up in a moment and get started. I just want to point out one little thing is that this is now the third WIP and Chat I've done for this canvas, and I have yet to work a full work week on this. Today is day 6 or 7, I think 7 of me, actually sitting down and working on it. So, if you guys do not want any of the mystery surprise to be spoiled for you, I'm keeping this on until I start. Excuse me. If you'd like to see the unboxing for that, I will link that one up in the eye for you. As always, if you do know what this is, and you have thoughts based on knowing what it is, please do not spoil it for others in the comments. I mean, I have a vague idea of what it is because I'm about halfway done. But still, I want to still be surprised, you know. And I've been doing my damnedest to make sure that I don't ruin it for you guys. So, without further ado, I'm going to take off that cover. Okay, that was my own sound effect. Hi guys, how are you? How's everyone doing? I have a bunch of random colors here that I grabbed the other day. And I don't know if any of them are actually like relevant colors or if they were for another section. So, let's see. I hope you guys are all doing well. My husband is in the room. Say hi, husband. Hello. So if you hear that, and then Briar is very much awake. So are you guys the kind of people that do like one color at a time and then put your color away and then grab another color? Or are you like me where you have like 15 colors on your desk at all times? Because I always have a bunch out on my desk. And then I put them away. And then keep going, you know. Anyway, so I hope that you guys are well. Let me pull up my notes, which I just somehow opened up something else on my tablet. Before I get super into this, did anybody here watch... No spoilers. Did anyone here watch season 4 of Stranger Things? Because, oh my god, you guys, it was so good. No, I won't spoil anything. I don't want you guys to spoil it for anyone else, but if you guys like Stranger Things and you haven't yet watched this season, I highly recommend that you do. Because in my opinion, it might even be my husband's opinion as well, this was the best season. And it's not even done. It's mostly done, but anyway. So I hope that you guys are all enjoying your whatever day of the week it is when you watch this. In real time, it is currently Sunday here. It is a pretty loungy day. I try to record on Sundays, record my WIP and Chats on Sundays, and edit them so that I can have them up and running for Monday morning, but it doesn't always happen that way. Whether it's I just didn't have the time, energy, effort, whatever, or I just wasn't able to sit down to record, or I was having troubles editing, whatever it may be. For anyone who's curious, I don't actually, like, edit that hard. I just, like, I've said this before. I'm not one of those creators that's going to edit out every breath, because I think, for the most part, people can tell, and it seems pre-produced. Now, don't get me wrong, there are creators, not just in the crafting world, but, like, vlogging, or makeup, or fashion, or whatever, that's their bread and butter, to edit everything down. I don't know why I just noticed the inside of the lid. Anyway, and that's not me, and that's totally okay. And if it is you, or that's your preference, that's totally okay too. But one little thing that I like to do when I edit, and for me, when I say I edit, I keep track of my timestamps, so I can add the cards at the end, which if you don't know what that means, when I tell you guys I'm going to link something up in the eye, I have to go and link that. It's really easy, but if you don't know what time you said that, you don't know what time to put it in your video. Or sometimes I'll add in like a GIF or something silly, or I had a video recently where something came crashing down in the background and I had to stop filming, obviously make sure that everything was okay. But then when I started back up, I had to kind of splice the clips together so that it wasn't like me just abruptly stopping. And like little things like that. So one of the tips and tricks that I use, which I promise I'm not going to sit here and talk about like me filming a WIP Chat for a whole hour, is I like to play back my video in usually like 1.6, 1.7 speed because I have a vague idea of where things are. I also try to physically point to the corner when I say I'm going to link something in the eye so that I can visually catch it. But what I would do is I would play it back, and then I would go back to regular speed, make note of the timestamp, and then keep going. Well, the editing app that I use all of a sudden is not letting me do that anymore, which means that when I'm editing an hour-long video like this one, it takes me over an hour. And, listen, we all love ourselves, okay? But sometimes we don't want to listen to ourselves ramble on for an hour while we're processing our videos. So anyway, I'm a little bit bummed, but I am definitely, I always say this and then I get overwhelmed, but I really want to move on from a cell phone as my recording device, and I want to get like a decent camera. But with that comes, I need a computer, and I don't understand any of this stuff, so, yeah. It's really interesting. If you guys were watching along with this WIP Chat, or this WIP, and you saw it before, like, it's nice to actually get some color in this now. I was working with browns. I mean, I'm still working with browns, but I was working with so many neutrals and dark neutrals in particular. Dark browns, dark blues, that it's nice to get these little tiny pops of color here and there. Oh, pay attention, Lindsay. Just like, I don't know if you guys saw, I posted on my stories the other day, I mixed 2 colors together. And this is all I have left. Everything else has been separated. Boring stuff. Anyway, so let's get into it. Let's talk about the week, shall we? So last Sunday, my husband's family came into town, and they were all here. We had some from New York, some from Arizona, and obviously the local family. And the out of the area family came in for a very short trip. It was the first time that my sister-in-law and my 2 nephews from Arizona actually got to meet Briar, and the second time that the family from New York has ever seen her in real life. So we were excited. Every time they come in, I should say not every year, because it's obviously, my kid's 4.5, that means they haven't been in at least 4.5 years. The family picnic is hosted by one of Brian's cousins, who oddly enough lives in the development across the street from us. So like we literally just walked down. It was really nice. But there were lots of my husband's cousins were there. His aunts and uncles, his mother, some family that we haven't seen in quite some time. Some family that are, cousins of his family members. So you're like, who is that? And they were like, I don't know. They belong to this cousin's wife's child's best friend's neighbor. And you're like, oh, okay. But it was nice. I had a really nice time. My daughter decided she wanted to be a little swim fishy. And here's the fun part. The fun part. My daughter does not know how to swim. This is actually something that we are working on changing. My daughter is actually in swim lessons that started later that week, so I will talk about that in a little bit. But we always wanted her to be in swim lessons. We just were not able to get her into swim lessons, which was super unfortunate. I don't want my kid to be the next Olympic swimmer. I mean, hey, if that's her goal in life, I will stand by and support her. My goal is to make sure that my 4-year-old understands water safety. That if she falls into the pool or she trips or whatever, that she knows how to get herself safely onto her back and out of the pool. That's my main goal. And I know a lot of people, that's their goal when their children are smaller. Obviously, I would have liked for that to have been the case, but it didn't. So the other thing that sucks is, I've mentioned it before, my child is incredibly small, which is not a problem. Like, I'm not saying it as, oh, my kid's small. But the problem with that is that flotation devices are meant for a very specific size range on purpose. So if you see a flotation device and it says that it is for, I'm just making up numbers here, 25 to 35 pounds, and your kid is 22 pounds, it's not safe for your kid. With that being said, there's not a whole lot of flotation devices for children under a certain size. And unfortunately, that's what happened to us when Briar was little. We got her a flotation device that was meant for kids significantly younger than her, but it was one of the only things that we could find for her weight. And the reason I say, like, it's meant that way for a reason is it one size fits all? No. If you've ever been in a life vest, okay, I don't mean like the swimming ones, the puddle jumpers and things like that. Life vests are meant to be sized for a reason, because if you jump into the water, your boat capsizes, you're swimming, whatever it may be, and it pulls up too much, it will choke you, which is why flotation devices, even though they are meant to help you float, are not there to, like, be your cure-all. So, unfortunately, the one that Briar had when she was littler, she has outgrown, and the next one, quote-unquote, that would fit her is not meant for kids her age. So, you know, even more reason that we want our kid to learn how to swim. But that also meant that when she was in the pool for 4 hours, no lie, you guys, 4 hours, that meant one of us had to be, like, swimming with her in our arms. We mostly stayed in the shallow end. My husband is taller than I am, so even when he was going a little bit further, it was just as far as he could stand.
It drops real quick.
Yeah, it does, and there's really no, like, delineation of, like, oh, it's about, you're just literally walking, and then you're like, oh, crap. And my husband, if you guys did not know, is 13 inches taller than me, so that makes a huge difference when you're in a pool. However, Brian is not, he's not as much of a swim person as I am, and that's not, like, a bad thing, but, like, there was times where he was ready to be out of the pool, and I was like, I totally understand. So, luckily for us, we had, my sister-in-law was there, and Briar, like, latched onto her. One of her cousins was there, who is a young lady. I just thought I was putting that in the wrong color, and I was about to yell at myself. So we did have people we could exchange hands with for, you know, a couple minutes. Like, I never really left. I kind of just hovered around and then got out of the pool to pee, or got out of the pool to get a drink. Or when I got out of the pool to eat lunch, which was like 2 hours after lunchtime, Briar had to come out of the pool to eat lunch, which you guys would have thought we were torturing her. She was like, I don't want to. It's like, I don't care if you want to or not, kid. You can't stay in the pool all day long. And of course, Brian's cousin, he's like, you guys are more than welcome to come back and use the pool whenever you want. And I'm like, he's going to regret that when he just looks out his window and all of a sudden there's a 4-year-old running around his pool. No running though, because that's like the number one rule of pools is no running. But if you guys have been around for a while, you've probably heard me talk about, I don't know if I talked about it on my YouTube or on my Instagram, but there is a relative of Brian's. I'm not going to get super, super into it. She is a miserable human being, and I do not wish her well in life, but she is related to Brian by marriage, the same way I am related to his family. So neither one of us are related to the other person. Neither one of us have any connection to the other person. She is married to one of Brian's first cousins, just like I am married to her husband's cousin. Okay? She's a miserable human being, and she said some really super awful, racially charged things online. I might add, she's also white. So let me, and made comments about my parenting ability. And this is a woman who has literally seen me interact with my child once ever in her life. So, like, she has no foot to stand on. So she's sitting there, her family, she's got her own kids and her own grandkids. This is not a young woman. This is a woman who is in her 60s. Not saying that people in their 60s are old, but they're just trying to set the stage here. I know that not everybody in my life is going to have the same beliefs as me, and that's okay. It's a matter of how it is handled and how it is dealt with and how you speak to others, because I can have very different beliefs than somebody, but if I'm expecting them to be respectful of me, it needs to go both ways. So we're sitting there, and I said to my husband at one point, like, oh, what, was she too scared to show up? And he's like, oh no, she's up there hiding. She was. I had no idea for hours that she had been there. So we were at one point sitting at a table by ourselves. Briar was in the pool with one of her aunts, and I just finally had 5 minutes to get out of the pool and sit, which was quite fantastic. But the way it was set up is we were at tables here. There was a covered table with chairs here, and then over on the other end was a deck, a covered deck. So she was now directly in our line of sight and our earshot. And not once did she ever say anything. Here's the difference between this person and myself. I'm going to start this off by saying I am not a confrontational person. However, I am not afraid of confrontation. I know there are a lot of people in this world who are terrified of confrontation, and that's not me. I would never say something behind somebody's back that I wouldn't be willing to say to their face. So if I have to tell somebody that I think that they're a disgusting human being, I will tell it to their face. She is not that kind of person. She does, her bark and her bite are, one's real, one's not. Mine are both real. So we were sitting there, and she's talking to some of the other cousins, and she's giggling and having a grand old time. And she starts talking about how her one grandson, who, if I'm not mistaken, and Brian, you don't need to correct me if I'm wrong, but is similar in age to Briar. I think he's like a year older than her.
Yeah.
She was talking about this story about how, the first thing he does when he comes into our house is always go, I want my iPad and I want it now. And she's talking about how, the parenting this and the parenting that. And I'm like, if your grandson asks for it and you give it to him, you're the reason that he keeps asking for it, because he knows if he asks you that you're going to give it to him. Let me tell you guys, my daughter has an iPad. She has not used it in 3 years. And we only got it so we could travel to Oklahoma with it. So, and absolutely no shade to anyone who uses technology with their kids. I think technology is fantastic. I just know that for us, it's not our first line of defense. And I know for many people it is. And that's great. Whatever works for you. But it's just funny to hear her criticizing it. And I'm like, well, you're the reason he's doing it, because you keep giving it to him. So then she goes on to tell this story that she finds hilarious. Have you ever just watched somebody dig their own grave where they're trying to tell you something and they're just waiting for everyone to react and nobody does? Because this is what happened. And as an outsider who was not involved in that conversation, it was glorious to watch. She was talking about how out of control her grandson is and how he peed in the heating vents. And literally, it was like crickets. Everyone was just staring at her like, that's not funny. And she was like, it's hilarious, right, guys? And even asked Brian's one brother, and he's like, no.
He's like, you're even smiling.
And he's like, I'm not about that. So we're sitting there, and I'm just sitting there thinking to myself, damn, that must suck that, you think your kid peeing in the vent story is going to get everyone to be like, he's so funny. Or to give you empathy or sympathy on, how difficult it is to be a grandparent, blah, 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 blah. And then, when nobody jumped on her little train to laugh at how hilarious this situation was, which, let me tell you, if my kid peed in the vent, that's not something I'd be, sharing with people. I'd be like, no, absolutely not. This is never going to happen again. But then she starts talking about how the kids are so out of control and their father is too much of a pushover. He can't even handle his own children. And I'm like, if I found out my mother-in-law was talking shit on my parenting ability, excuse my language, I would be livid. Now, let me tell you, her son-in-law is such a sweet, gentle person. I've only interacted with him twice. But if you're sitting here talking about how terrible your grandson is and how you can't get him to listen to you and you can't do this with him and you can't do that, then why would you expect that, it's no different when he's at home with his own parents? I'm just saying, kids are difficult no matter how old they are, no matter whose kids they are. Kids are difficult. But I was like, Jesus. And I later found out one of my nieces texted me and was like, so apparently she thought it would be really funny to start bashing you to my mom, who is my sister-in-law. And the cousin's wife apparently got real annoyed that my sister-in-law didn't jump on bashing me. Which is funny because my sister-in-law and I have the same beliefs, and our beliefs do not align with my husband's cousin. But let me find out this woman ever tries to approach me in public. Ever. Like, from now until the end of life. I have nothing to say to her.
If she didn't on Sunday, she won't.
No, she won't. But it was just funny because, like, you could see she was getting cockier and cockier because she was like, well, I'm just going to get closer to them and louder to them to make my presence known. As if I gave two shits that she was there. Like, I knew she would be there. She's one of the cousins. Excuse me, even though she's a cousin by marriage. But it was just like, all right. I just think it's funny. Maybe funny's not the right word. But I think it's funny when people are 20, 25 years older than me. And they have to act like small children. You know, I don't expect everyone in this world to have the same code of ethics that I do. I don't expect everybody to agree with me on politics and human rights issues and things like that. But, you know, I don't know her kids or her grandkids. I mean, I've met them all, like, each, like, once or twice in my life. But I would never say anything about the parenting abilities of somebody that I don't know, let alone the parenting abilities of somebody I do know. And that's cool. If she wants to just bash my parenting abilities because I want to teach my child love and acceptance, and that's not what she agrees with, that's a reflection of her and not me. The only downside is that she is very, very close with my mother-in-law and wants my mother-in-law to be on the same page with everything. And, you know, that has definitely caused some tension. But anyway, let's move on. The next day was Memorial Day. So Briar, I don't know if I mentioned this or not, but she's recently discovered her love of American flags. Where did it come from, you ask? I have no idea. If I had to guess, I would say Mission Barbecue, because we go there quite often. They always have military stuff up, and they do the oh my god, Star Spangled Banner at noon, and I don't know, but I was wondering if that's where it came from. But the Briar's cousins, so the next cousin closest in age to Briar is 16 on my husband's side, and the other one on my side will be 16 in October. So she doesn't have any little cousins. So the big cousins were all going to go have an amusement park day together, which, listen, I love Hershey Park. But we forfeited our passes for this year, and I got a refund because I was not prepared to do it. And, like, that's totally cool, you know? But even if we did have passes, like, I wouldn't have want to go with a bunch of teenagers and 20-year-olds because they're going to want to ride the thrill rides, whereas Briar's going to be in, like, the teacup stuff, you know? And that's fine. So, that out. Excuse me. So before the kids went to the park, our family and all of the other siblings, the ones that came in from out of town, all of Briar's cousins and aunts and uncles, we were all supposed to meet up for breakfast. Now, listen. I got a new tumbler. It says, just breathe. And I feel like I should have filled that up before I sat down to film, but it is what it is. So anyway, we knew a roundabout idea of how many people were joining us. And Brian had asked his brother, who seemed to be the one organizing it, hey, did you call that in anywhere? And he's like, no. Now, we're talking about a minimum of 14 people on a holiday weekend in a town with an amusement park during a pandemic where every restaurant is short-staffed. So originally we were told breakfast was at 10, and we were like, all right, if Briar, we can give her a little snack and then hold her off and she can have breakfast at 10 with the rest of the family. Cool, fine. So we did, and then we were told, oh, it's going to actually be 10:30, and we're like, okay. Now, mind you, some of the family is from the West Coast, so we think they tried to keep their family on West Coast time, which 10:30 would have been 7:30 their time. That's fine, that's great, but we're talking about a 4-year-old. You know, I can't prevent her from food and eating breakfast at home. So we go to the restaurant that we were sure wasn't going to be able to accommodate us. And wouldn't you know, they were not able to accommodate us. Now, mind you, it is now 10:45, and there's not a single other family member there or about to be there. So, you know what? We were like, screw it. Let's just put in a table for 3. Oddly enough, the 2 tables behind us each had 8-person tables. So they could have come and just sat behind us, but they all decided to go somewhere else because it turns out one brother didn't know Brian was coming and Brian didn't know the other brother was coming. And it was all blamed on the brother who didn't know. And Brian's like, that's not fair because he had no idea. So it turned out the party was actually like 17 or 18.
With us, it would have been 19.
19. And you can't just show up to a restaurant with an almost 20-person party, whether you're in a pandemic or not, and expect that they're going to be able to seat you. So it was super unfortunate, and we were like, you know what, screw it. Brian and I are just going to go about our day. If they want to include us in activities later in the day, somebody can communicate with us. I don't know if I've ever mentioned, Brian is the youngest. And even though he is a grown man in his 40s, they all still treat him like he's a little kid. So this was no exception. But Five Below was across the street, and because Briar was really good and really flexible, we were like, let's go to Five Below. So she walked around, she picked out a few things. Great. So we get to the parking lot, we're getting back in the car. Now, Brian had pulled the car into the parking spot the normal way. So, like, his car is here. This is the head of our car. The head of our car? The hood of our car. The front of our car, whatever. And the car next to us was parked this way. So the front of our car was next to the back of their car. Now, listen, before I had kids, I never realized how annoying that was. If you don't have any children, this is my PSA to you. If you notice that the car next to you has like a baby on board sticker or you can see a car seat, please don't park your car that way, because the way the car's configurations are is that when you open your rear door, it is now at their driver's or passenger side mirror, depending on what side you're on. And if you've ever had to get a child in or out of a car seat, you know, you need the space. So I said to Brian when we parked, I said, we have room, but I'm just having a little bit of difficulty. Could you get her out for me? And he was like, yeah, no problem. Excuse me. Because I have a diaper bag on, I just have a little less space to maneuver around. Yeah, he's got longer limbs. He's 13 inches taller than me. This will be a pop quiz at the end of the video, by the way. So don't cheat now. Anyway, so Brian goes, he opens the door, and he puts his hand between the door and the mirror to make sure that, because you know how like your door automatically opens to a certain point before you can like adjust it, to make sure he wasn't hitting the person's mirror. He got it there safely, and then he just propped it so that the side of the door was touching the mirror, but it was just barely grazing it, but it wasn't putting any pressure on the mirror. It just was there. Like you could still put like paper between the door and the mirror. You know what I mean? So this woman comes, and she is standing at the front of our car, very impatient. By the way, it is a super hot day, like well into the 90s, 80-something% humidity. It was gross. And she is just ranting and raving. Now, meanwhile, her boyfriend, husband, whoever he was, he didn't bother to care. He got his little ass right in the car, turned the air conditioning on, and, like, you could see that he was just, like, pissed that we were taking so long, which, like, we were here first, you know? And, like, could my husband have closed the door, let her get into the car, waited for them to pull out, and then open the door and finish putting our kid in the car seat? Sure, but why would we have to inconvenience ourselves when we were there first? Anyway, so as soon as he gets her in the car, the woman is yelling at him from the front of our car and is like, your car door just smashed my window. Guys, it didn't even like tap the window. I saw him. He had his hand there. It was not in a position to destroy their window. And she starts screaming and cussing Brian out. Now, mind you, she's now getting into the passenger side of her car, which is now bordering my daughter's window.
She didn't move until I walked around.
I know. And I pulled down my window and I said, would you mind not cussing and screaming when you know there's a child right next to her? Like, you watched him put the baby in the car. And she's like, F you, F this, like freaking out and screaming. And I'm like, okay, now my blood is boiling. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you guys that we don't curse in front of our child. But at the same token, that's us in our own home. That's a lot different than a grown adult choosing to use profanity when they know there's like a child literally like 3 inches away from them. You know, I can't tell somebody how to live their life. But then the guy, once the girl gets in the car, and I am going to use foul language here, so if it bothers you, fast forward or put me on mute. But the guy rolls down his window as he's pulling out, and he's like, yelling at us. He's like, you fat fucks and you guys are losers, blah, blah, blah. And first of all, listen, I'm not going to sit here and critique other people. But first of all, those who live in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. I'm just going to say his girlfriend, his wife, whoever she was not what you would describe as skinny. That being said, using fat as an insult to somebody, fat is a descriptor. That's like saying somebody is tall or somebody is short or somebody has red hair or black hair. It's just a descriptor. It's not an insult, but if it makes you feel better about yourself to scream at strangers and tell them they're fat, then by all means, go ahead.
And he also waited till like...
Yeah, everybody waited until Brian was back in the car to open their mouth. Why can I not find this color? So, needless to say,
I jumped out, they pulled away.
Yeah, because they were scared. Because, you know, listen, I don't know if you guys have seen pictures of my husband. He's not an actually intimidating person, like by nature. He's just physically intimidating because he's 6'4" and he's a big dude. And, you know, depending on a day, if you catch him, whether he has sleeves or not, or he has shorts or not, like my husband has like calf muscles, like tree trunks. Like, honestly, like I've never seen another person outside of like a professional athlete, like no bullshit here, that has calves as big as my husband's. And you know what he does to make them that big? Absolutely nothing. Nothing at all. He literally just exists and has these like tree trunk legs.
Used to.
Yeah, but it's been a very, very long time and they're still there. I used to have a really great butt and now it's just saggy. Anyway, oh my god, I'm like rambling. We're only on like the second day of the week. But it was just one of those experiences. And of course I had to apologize to my daughter because I didn't want her to, you know, I make it a very big point with my child to never describe my body or my husband's body negatively. I don't want her to think that it's bad because our bodies look this way or we are less than because our bodies have more fat on them than somebody else's. And I want her to grow up believing that her body is beautiful, whatever it looks like. And that starts with the reflection of her parents, seeing how her parents respond to their own bodies, respond to her body. Like, I will never tell her, like, I'll never point out flaws in her body because that's not my job. But anyway, oh man. The fact that this girl's like, you smashed my mirror, and I was like, are you for real right now?
Like I said, I wish I would have been on that
Smash
side
the mirror?
and smashed her mirror.
Yeah.
Like, that's smashing your mirror. That and their car was a POS.
Yeah, it was.
You know, not to brag, we do drive a nice car. Like,
we drive a Kia Telluride. Let me just, like, it's not a nice car, but it's also not, like, high-end luxury kind of car. So, if you guys follow Lori over at One Fun Diamond Painter, she also has a Telluride, and she does videos where she drives around, and it's called her Tell You Rides, and go check that out. I'll actually link Lori down in the description. But where do we go? Let me see where we're at. We ended up going for a bike ride. And when I say we, I mean like Briar. I want to get a bike. I tried a bike at Walmart, like a $100 bike. The problem is I'm kind of in between sizes because of my height. And also, like, I need a bike to not hurt my butt that much, which, you know, I've got a lot of weight to put on a seat. But it doesn't do me any good if I can't reach the pedals. You can only lower the seat so much, you know what I mean? But we're getting to a point now where, like, Brian's like, I can barely keep up with her when she's going. And neither one of us have, like, an adult-sized bike. But she was doing really, really well. We decided to order in some Indian food. You guys, we got one entree and a couple appetizers, and it fed all three of us. And yes, before people go, your kid eats Indian food? She sure does. She loves lots of ethnic flavors, bright, bold flavors, Latin flavors, Asian flavors, and then we made some ice cream sundaes for dessert, and it was absolutely fantastic. And that's the day we started Stranger Things. Stranger Things this season, you guys, they're longer episodes, so just keep that in mind if you're somebody who likes to binge. Then the next day was Tuesday, and we had no ice skating, which sucked. Because we wanted our out-of-town family to get to see Briar to skate. And so originally I was like, well, we could take her to an open skate. And Brian's right. He's like, what happens if we take her? Nobody else wants to get on the ice. And then she's like, I don't want to do it by myself. You know, I can't force her, especially because it's not her lesson. So we ended up making plans instead I should say I ended up making plans to, let's take there is a 17-year-old and 21-year-old and 4-year-old. I said, why don't we go bowling? That's something that the adults don't need to partake in if they don't want to, or they can if they want to, you know, whatever floats your boat. And Brian's like, yeah, it's a great idea. So I reach out to his brother and sister-in-law. They are all in. So we pull up to the bowling alley, and not a single car. Like, literally not a single car. And I was like, uh-oh. Turns out, I looked at the wrong day. They weren't open on Tuesday. They opened on Wednesday. And I was like, uh-oh. So I quickly texted his brother and sister-in-law, and I was like, look, I apologize. I screwed up somewhere. And they are not open today. Did we want to go? There's a place called Adventure Sports. They've got mini golf. They've got escape rooms, an arcade, bumper boats, go-karts, all that stuff. Batting cages. And they were like, perfect. Sounds great. Let's do that. So, grabbing more colors. Don't mind me. N. So you can tell I'm a parent. Just like mouthing the sounds to myself. Which don't remember N, Lindsay, because that's not the color you're working on. So anyway, they came, and it was funny. They were like, are you guys here? And I'm like, we're literally pulling in. And we played mini golf, which we've done once with Briar before. The idea of mini golf with her is much better than the execution of it. Like, I know she's not going to be, like, golfing. Like, don't get me wrong. But she wanted nothing more than to climb under the ropes, try to get to the water fountain, like, do all the stuff that's not intended for her to touch, you know? So it was a little bit difficult. She had, like, a complete freak out. And Brian had to, like, take her out. And I was like, Briar, we need to make the best of the situation. You know, let's go back in. Let's regroup, you know. And we did. And we had some ice cream sundaes. We sat with our cousins. We enjoyed the time that we had. Great. Wonderful. So then we ended up playing in the arcade for quite some time. Thank God that she has older cousins, because they won her a bunch of tickets. This kid, not surprising. Okay. This kid does not understand that, like, oh, well, I see a unicorn. I want the unicorn. Let me get the unicorn. You have to have enough tickets for the unicorn. Well, I want that unicorn. So it turns out she didn't have enough tickets for the giant unicorn she wanted, but she had enough tickets with her cousin's tickets to get 4 small unicorns. 1 was a plush, 1 was squishy, and 2 were plastic. So that made her happy. She was just a hair too short to go with the big kids on the go-karts. It just turned out to be a really lovely time. It's really unfortunate that that was the extent of us being able to spend time with that part of his family. It was a very short trip. And it just, you know, it's unfortunate that it played out that way. And hopefully it won't be another 4 years till we see them. And a lot of that, most of that has to do with COVID, you know, with travel and travel restrictions and things like that. And that's why they hadn't been in, I should say. So it was very nice that Briar got to meet her cousins and her aunt. She had met her uncle. He had come into town for one of their uncles, which would have been Briar's great uncle, for his birthday a couple years ago. But it was really lovely. We had a really nice time, even though it ended up being a bit chaotic. And we just decided we were going to pick up some Panera. You guys are going to hear me talking a lot in this video about, like, takeout. And part of that was because we knew his family was in town. We didn't want to waste money on groceries that we weren't going to be able to cook. We didn't know were there going to be plans, were there not going to be plans. Like, we just didn't want to... What is stuck in this drill? We didn't want it to be a situation where we had all these groceries and then we had to make excuses as to why we couldn't come out with people. Things like that. So, we got Panera. You guys, this Panera, I don't know if they just don't read instructions or if they just, like, legit hate us, but no lie, they always screw something up. Like, I asked for no chicken and I got so much chicken. It was unbelievable. But I posted it in my stories and then Panera responded to me. They're like, we're going to put a reward in your account. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Which, like, for me, no chicken is just because of a personal preference. But what if you're somebody who is a vegan? Like, even if you pick out the chicken, there's still, like, chicken bits in your salad. You can't eat that. Or if you have a food allergy, and you're telling them to leave an ingredient out, it could be potentially dangerous. Brian always asks for no onions, and he always gets onions. The one time he got even more onions. Like, it was literally, like, double onions. I was like, wow, cool, thanks. But the next day was just a super loungy day at home. All of the family had gone back, and so we decided we were just going to hang out. Sorry, I'm like, anybody else do that? I love the feeling of the canvas with the drills on it. But, Pryor decided she put on a dress and, like, combat boots and tied, a sweater around her waist. And I'm like, oh my god, 90s me is dying right now because, like, she is on that 90s aesthetic. She has no idea what it means. You know what I mean? She just literally put these things together and thought they looked cute. And I was like, well, I'm clearly doing my job. She looks like she was ready to go to a garbage concert. And the band, I don't mean like a trash. And if you guys are under a certain age, you probably don't know who that is. But, where were we? Oh, we were going to go to Haas's for dinner. If you guys don't know what Haas's is, they call it a steak and seafood buffet. I don't know what seafood they have other than, like, fried shrimp, which I guess is seafood. But they have 2 locations. We're kind of in the middle of one. One's a little bit closer, but it's, like, same mileage-wise. I was like, why don't we go to that one? So we drive up. Again, not a single car in the parking lot. Not a single car, you guys. And I'm like, it says they're open. Turns out there's a little sign on the door. It says they're closed because they are understaffed. And they will reopen on Friday. And I was like, well, crap. Thankfully, we got out of our house early enough that we were able to make it to the other houses, which we did. And, why does everything always happen, like, on my watch? I'm like, let me be the one to pick where we're going, what we're doing, and then things fall apart. Tell me I'm not the only one. Tell me, please. Lie to me if you have to. But, somehow, if you guys go to Haas's, like, I did not realize it says at the bottom of the menu, 5 and under get a free salad bar. Now, if you get a kid's meal, it comes with the kid's meal. But we weren't going to get her a kid's meal. We were literally just going to do the salad bar because it has, like, nachos and salad and soup and dessert and all that stuff. And I was like, the last time we came, we ordered her chicken fingers and she ate 1 bite of chicken finger. And I was like, this is such a waste of money. So it turned out perfect for us because we ended up not paying for her at all. Which, if you guys go somewhere and something's free like that, still make sure you are tipping your servers. Pulling out a couple more colors here. Got some more of the, ABs over here they're asking for. Did I just put a color away I needed? No, not yet. So, Thursday was Briar's very first swim lesson. Yay! So, we are taking swim lessons. This woman independently teaches swim lessons out of her house. She's been doing it for a while, and I really enjoyed her method of learn to swim. She was fast-paced enough that it was fun and engaging, but not too fast that it was overwhelming, and I am shocked with how well this kid did. She did not have to put her face in the water yet. I know that is usually a little bit of a scary point for little kids, so we shall see how that goes when it happens. But I really enjoyed it. We'll be back next week. I was really impressed. And not only did Briar do good at the swim lesson, which obviously you want her to do, she also... Did I just put the wrong color down? Sure did. Now I don't know where I put that. Crap. Where are my tweezers at? So... Alright, let me pick these off. I'll be right back. And just like that. I honestly don't know if there was more, but that's what I saw. So, listen. I'm going to make it my own. I'm going to keep going with it. I mean, it's the same color, just different shades, so I don't think it's going to, like, ruin the outcome of anything here. But yeah, I really liked the way she did the swim classes, and then she was able to transition out of there really easily to go do the next thing. We decided to go grab a slice of pizza for lunch. Apparently that's what Brian used to do as a kid after swimming. He would go get pizza. It was really, really nice, and I'm glad that Briar did well at the lesson, because I mean, obviously you want your kid to do well at something like that. But it was really great. And then I had a chiropractor appointment over her nap. She loves going to the chiropractor, but I had all these sessions scheduled for like 2:15, so it was over her nap, and I don't want to like keep her up for that. Let's see, where am I at? Where you at? I'm just gonna do this color because there's a lot of it, and I think I don't have that much more to talk about. Maybe I do. So we decided, she kept saying she wanted to go to Mission Barbecue for lunch, and I was like, girl, Mission Barbecue is like the complete opposite direction that we're going. Like, you know, we can do that later, which seemed to satiate her need for the time being. So we ended up going to Mission the next day. Sorry, she wanted to go to Mission after swimming. But we went for dinner. I'm trying to get my thoughts here. Okay, so listen, you guys. We go to Mission Barbecue a lot. I don't know if I can show my face there again. Okay, so we were there, and they had one of those lemonade and tea machines. You know, like the coolers that are just making it constantly. So I go to get lemonade, and I pull my cup away, and it's still going, and I'm like, oh shit. And I try to adjust like the metal spout, and I'm like, oh my god, it just is not stopping. So I get an employee, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on, but I can't get the lemonade machine to stop. And they're like, what do you mean you can't get it to stop? I'm like, it won't stop. Like, I don't know how else to describe it. Like, it's literally just pouring lemonade out, and I'm standing there. Now there's like 3 employees, and you can hear them all talking to each other. What do you mean it won't stop? And I'm like, it literally won't stop. One of them had to go and eventually get a bucket. I'm surprised it didn't happen sooner. And I was like, oh my god, you guys, it felt like an hour that there was just lemonade gushing on the floor. I honestly have no idea in real time how long it took because I was so overwhelmed and embarrassed that, like, I mean, I had, like, I guess the best way to describe it is I had, like, secondhand embarrassment for myself because I was like, oh my god. But there was nothing I could do. Like, I couldn't figure out how to get it to stop. And I was just like, they're never going to let me come back in here again. Which, I mean, they're not going to not let me in there. But, oh my god, you guys. Oh my god. It was an experience. Let's just say that. It was an experience. And I'm just like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. And then somehow my kid has gone like a month with no issues, no potty training issues, like no accidents. I will say, I cannot say that my child is potty trained until she self-motivates to use the toilet on her own. And what I mean by that, for anyone who's curious, is that, like, my kid can keep her underwear dry all day long, but she won't use the toilet because her body tells her she has to pee. She'll use the toilet because we told her, it's time for you to go potty. And for those who are curious, no, it's not every time. Like, I could tell her, Briar, you have to go pee-pee. I don't have to. I don't want to. So somehow, on this day, she had 2 accidents. One of them was in her room over her nap while the door to her bathroom was wide open, and she started freaking out, and I came running in. I said, oh my god, what's wrong? And I saw there was like a poop mark on her clothing and her underwear, but there was no actual turd to be found, which, guys, I still have not found anything. She swears up and down that she didn't poop in the potty, and she's like, it's in my underwear. And I'm like, so I don't know if it was like a really bad shirt or what, but I'm still like holding my breath that I'm gonna like find it one day in her room because I'm scared. I'm scared. And then the next one was, we were doing these color your own food truck. This thing is amazing, by the way. I posted about it in my story. If you guys have them at your Target, I highly recommend. It's a food truck, a pirate ship, and I think a playhouse, and it's all cardboard. It's huge. It's $20. It is like hours of entertainment. So we were out in the garage. We were playing with that because it started raining, and she said to Brian, Daddy, I have to go pee-pee, and she couldn't get the door open. So he helped her, and then she came back outside and said, Daddy, can I keep my wet underwear on? And it's unclear if she peed herself because she couldn't get to the toilet fast enough, or if she had peed herself in the garage, felt the wetness, and then was like, oh crap, I have to go pee-pee. I don't know. And she has told us both sides of the story, so I really don't have an answer. But the problem is she gets so involved in whatever she's doing or playing with that she just, like, can't keep track of, like, having to go to the bathroom and things like that. And so that's where we're at. For those who are curious about, like, the potty training, how's it going? That's how it's going. Unfortunately, I don't have anything better to say about it. The next day was Friday. We had our reevaluation, the start of our reevaluation, I should say, with the IU. Our head teacher is pregnant, and she will be on leave when Briar would need her evaluation. So we're doing it now, and that's great. But my biggest fear is that we're going to lose services. I can tell you right now, as much as I'm scared about it, I'm already pretty positive we're losing speech. The problem is they can't have her lose that service until they evaluate her amongst her peers. But they can't evaluate her amongst her peers until she's in a classroom. Well, they're not going to give her another year's worth of services when she's starting in the fall. So they're trying to pair her with other kids for their summer school program to see if they can get, like, a better reading. It sucks. I don't want to lose anything we have, because, yeah, while she's made so much progress, the reason she's made progress is because she's got these wonderful providers, and it makes me very nervous as a parent that might be what we're losing. So, Briar wanted to go to Target the night before, after Mission, because they're in the same shopping center, like, relatively close to each other. We just didn't have time, so we said, okay, after we go to the IU, we'll go to Target. We did, and then we went over and got some hibachi, or tabachi, as she called it. Tabachi and sushi. Briar has recently discovered her love of California rolls. She ate the entire thing by herself. And then, of course, we gave her some of the fried rice from our hibachi, and it was a very lovely outing. Let's see. It was a pretty chill day, Friday. So if anybody has... Oh, good job, Lindsay. If anybody has any recommendations, let me know. Okay, we can fix this. I'm gonna pause my timer here because... Let's see. What do I have that's a flat surface that I can use right now? My daughter wants... We've been talking about, like, redoing her room as, like, a big girl room. If you guys are just listening and not watching and you're like, what just happened? I just spilled most of the container of this color on my diamond painting. Thankfully, it fell onto a section that didn't have any exposed adhesive, so... And yes, I have a little hand vacuum, but I don't feel like pulling that out for this right now. Ugh. I might have to. Now I'm making even more of a mess. But anyway, so we were talking about, like, redoing her bedroom. You know, I know she would love, like, right now, today, Briar would love, like, My Little Ponies or Paw Patrol or whatever. Her room has not been changed, adjusted in any way, shape, or form since she was born. So it still has the yellow walls, and it has the Dr. Seuss quotes on the walls. Yo, Lindsay, you are just missing left and right. I hope everybody's enjoying my struggle over here. I'm about to just throw these extra drills in the trash because I keep spilling them. Don't do that, Lindsay. Don't do that. So I don't want to redo her room, and then in a couple years when she's bigger and it's a baby room that she's like, I don't want this room. So we were talking about it, and she seems to want, like, a bit of, like, a neon pink and bright colors and bold this. So I was thinking maybe doing, like, a 90s kind of thing with, like, some cool neon lights. I am terrible at design, so if you guys know of any really great free design programs or companies, please let me know, because I very much would love to make my daughter's bedroom, you know, a big girl room, or big kid room, I should say. And you know, like, I know we're going to have to put a desk in there when she's in school and things like that. But right now we have pretty standard furniture, and I don't want to get her, like, a new dresser, but, like, I'm willing to do wallpaper or painting the walls or whatever. I'd love to do a chalkboard wall in one room, or on one wall with, like, chalkboard paint. I think that's super cool. But I don't know. So if you guys have any recommendations, please leave them down below. I will greatly appreciate it. But the next day was Saturday, and I'm going to finish up on this day here for you guys. So we got Briar a water table. If you guys have small kids, you know that a water table is, it is very much fun in the sun. Kids love it. They love splashing around. But the one that we had from last year is kind of babyish. And I bought her a very upgraded, very European company. It is like a whole waterway. It has boats and it has levers and dams and water pumps and all this stuff. And it is super, super cool. And this kid was literally out there for like 3-4 hours and never stopped, to the point that when she came in, we had to change all of her clothes. She was just soaked in mud. It wasn't muddy out, but when you're splish splashing gallons of water on the ground, that's what happens. And then we decided to have some lunch outside. My husband ordered from like a hoagie shop. And I was like, I'm not super hungry. I'll just get an order of mozzarella sticks. How are the inside of the mozzarella sticks raw? Like totally raw. And the outside is barely golden brown, but yet the cheese has exploded from all of it. I don't understand. I don't understand. So that was what we did then. And then we did it again in the evening. We went back out and played with the water table for hours and hours. She probably spent like 6 or 7 hours outside yesterday just playing with this water table. But over her nap, I was on Facebook, and a woman in one of my local moms groups put up that she had a bounce house that had been used one time only last summer for sale for an incredible price. And I messaged her. I was like, me, sold. I will come get it. And within 10 minutes, I put on a bra and I was out the door. And you guys, I got Briar a bounce house. We've been wanting one for our backyard. I know I was talking about that in a previous WIP Chat. You know, my husband, I don't think, was quite as sold on us needing one as I was. It's one of those things that I know she can bounce and jump and flip-flop around in there for hours, and it will let her burn her energy. And it's something that it's not a permanent fixture. You know, we have a swing set outside. Our swing set is old and not in good condition. We got that for free from someone else. Locally, we picked it up, and we'll probably get this year and maybe some of next year, maybe, out of it. But I also don't want to spend, you know, thousands of dollars to get a brand new swing set because, you know, she'll be 5 next summer. And I don't know how long she needs her own swing set because we're pretty close to parks. But I'm really excited that we got this. We have an inflatable pool that we got last year and never assembled. So we're going to put that out at some point. And again, that doesn't have to remain out there. And we also have a trampoline that we've been debating back and forth for an excessive amount of time as to where we want to put that and whatnot. But it's crazy because I want my kid to enjoy her outdoor time, but part of the reason we don't have a lot of stuff up, even though we own a decent amount of stuff, is we don't have a fence. And we're an end property in a townhouse community, so like our fence would be a very large fence. And honestly, like our neighbor is just kind of waiting for us to put up a fence so that she can just kind of piggyback off of it, which is like, dude, don't do that. But I don't know. So I realize now that I have rambled for a very, very long time. I hope that you guys hung out for the whole thing. If you made it all the way through, let's do our questions again. I did these the 1 week. Let me know what was your favorite part of today, your least favorite part of today, and what you are looking forward to most. And since we got lots and lots of orange in this section, if you want to go ahead and leave me an orange emoji so I know you made it all the way through, I would greatly appreciate it. I love you guys. I hope that you enjoyed this. If you'd like to see more content like this, or, you know, nothing like this at all, please make sure to give this video 2 thumbs up. One real life and one virtual. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. Come, join the Sparkle Squad. While you're there, hit that notification bell. I do not operate on any sort of schedule. I operate on toddler standard time, and I record when my tiny human is sleeping or sleeping. Thank you guys so much for being here, and I'll see you on my next one. Bye, guys!